One of the big challenges that we have these days is when it comes to our children's education. Do we send our children to a private school? And some of those can be very pricey. Then there's the Catholic school system, and then there's the state public school system. There are challenges when it comes to how you educate your children depending on your values and depending on your financial position as you're able to send your children into these various education settings. To talk through issues when it comes to public schools and private schools, Gavin Martin, our finance guy, is back with us today, the founder of Cornerstone Wealth. Gavin, welcome back to 2020.
G'day Neil, great to be with you, and this particular topic is one that we're dealing with at the moment with our children and thinking about the next stage of education into the secondary levels.
And your children are all quite young and into primary school level, and you're talking in amongst your family discussions all about where you send your children, perhaps when they get to their high school years or changing direction at the present time.
Yeah, we're thinking more so the high school years, but I guess that there might be a point in time if we go down the independent school track that you might just move all the kids across over into that system at some point in time. But there's a quote from C.S. Lewis that always comes to the forefront of my mind when I'm thinking about education, and it goes along the lines of this. He says, "Education without values, as useful as it is, seems make man a more clever devil." So yeah, it always has in the back of my mind that whilst it's good to have all the smarts and to get the right education, it is also very important to make sure that it's founded in biblical values as well.
I always think of the idea and the fact that if you take an assessment of your local setting, you may have opportunity to send your children into a solid Christian education, which so many people around the world in so many nations, so many different cultures just don't have the opportunity to do. So if you've got the opportunity to give your children a values-based Christian education, then that's really valuable. But the big challenge there then comes that some Christian education is really, really expensive, and you've got to be very financially astute to be able to get yourself together to get your children into that education.
Yeah, so when it comes down to finances, and there are schools and there are schools, so there can be the top of the range type schools that are going to cost you, tens of thousands of dollars each year, and there are other schools that can provide, I guess, the right culture for you at a fraction of that cost. And then there also might be times where it's appropriate from a Christian perspective to be in the local school, and it might present outreach opportunities, provide the appropriate environment for your particular children. And as we've got 6 kids, we often think that whilst we're making a decision now about our first going on to high school, we may end up in a range of different schools depending on the needs, abilities, and the makeup of each of our children.
When someone comes to you, Gavin, as a financial advisor, and they talk to you about where they send their children because perhaps they're coming from a Christian foundation in their own family, and they're debating whether to send their children to a Christian school, and then the whole finance thing comes into play as really whether they're going to be able to do that or not. You've got a two-pronged approach, I imagine, that you're talking values first, and then what can we do financially to be able to facilitate the best education for our children? Yes,
it is very much, when I talk through what their goals are, what people's goals are in terms of education and what that might cost, it was really also tied up in what their other expenditure is as well. So if they're able to live in an affordable home and have the debt on the home under control, it can, or you work towards that by the time that you have to pay those fees, it can actually be a very attainable thing, and it can work in well. But sometimes it's just a straight out, unless you significantly change the setup of your current financial situation, you really need to think about alternative options. So yeah, it's a really important discussion to have, because you don't want to go down a track planning around a particular option and then realise later down the track that it's not going to work into your family situation.
I think it's obviously a wise thing to examine all the options, because not all Christian schooling is expensive. There are some low-fee Christian schools, and I'm thinking of the Catholic education system, which is an option, even if you're not Catholic. There's still a very solid foundation that people who are coming from evangelical, Protestant side of Christianity can still glean from a lot of good things out of Catholic education. And not all of them are high fee. They're, in fact, often they boast of being family friendly and low fee education.
Yeah, the Catholic schools in our local area are actually really well priced and provide a great environment for the development of kids. And it is a great option. And because we've got 6 kids, we've often asked about, and we've in the process of inquiring that often they have discounts with multiple children as well. So if you do have a larger family, often the second child has a discount, the third child has a discount, and in a range of schools in our area, you don't pay past the third child. So you can factor in those sort of initiatives in your financial situation as well.
So that's right. For someone in your circumstance, where you've got a big tribe of kids, it can really actually work to your advantage. It's where you've got the 1 or 2 and then going on to 3 children going through the same school, but there are still going to be financial advantages that you'll be able to discuss with each local school institution.
Yeah, exactly. And we talked in another segment about the phases in life where you might have both in the couple working, one spouse might stay home and look after the kids, and then a spouse might return to either part-time work or full-time work. If you are at that stage where all the kids are at school, then it does present the opportunity to the secondary income earner generating sufficient income to pay for those school fees as well. I know a local friend who drives the kids to school and then works in the marketing area of the school and then brings the kids home again. So it actually works really well to both generate income but also take the kids to school as well.
And you've mentioned the discounts you can get on school fees if you've got your children in a Christian school. When you are actually making a contribution into school life. Yes,
exactly. So if you are an employee or a teacher, sometimes there are discounts as well. But I know a number of schools also discount the fees as you are participating in whether it's the maintenance or other programs within the school as well. Yeah, it's great to factor in all those, both the commitments, both financially and time-wise, when you're considering what schooling options are right for your family.
I guess if you were considering the public school option, that's not a bad option either. And when you mention values, yes, there are going to be some inadequacies when it comes to values in the state system, and perhaps that's arguable, and some might argue that's not the case. But I think from the Christian school side of things, there are values that are actually inputted into your child that come from a Christian foundation, which are very valuable, lifelong values that your child will continue to pick up on, and sometimes values that will be taught that they won't actually hear within the home. And so that, I guess, has a value to it when it comes to whether you think that choosing a Christian school is a good option for the future.
Yeah, exactly. And the beauty about our current school environment is that we get to meet a range of people, both from a Christian background and not, and it really presents the opportunity to share the gospel, share Christ with people in that community. So there are times and seasons. It might be right for you at a particular time to be in a Christian environment. It might be right at another time to be in the public school environment. So I guess it's a matter of discerning what's right for you and each individual child over time.
And for some schools, it's a good thing to have your children enrolled early, because in some communities there are waiting lists on good schools. And so wisdom would say, prepare for where your child will be educated from when they're very young, so that you can actually determine the direction rather than be turned away at the door. Gavin Martin is the founder of Cornerstone Wealth. We always like to talk through financial issues when it comes to family life. And Gavin, I'll point people to your website too at www.cornerstonewealth.com.au. Gavin Martin, always a pleasure. Thanks for being with us again today on 2020.
Thank you, Neil. Great to be with you.